Ladies and gentlemen, if you are wanting to hit Unreal in Zero Build in Chapter 5 Season 2, you have clicked on the right video. I will be diving into my gameplay, giving you a look inside my mind, and cover the best landing spot, the best loadouts, proper ways to rotate, and last but not least, fighting tips. Before we jump straight into the video, I want to thank Jen Lord for leaving a positive comment on the channel. I read every single comment, so if you want to be featured in my next video, comment something down below. And let's see if we can get this video to 1,000 likes. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's jump straight into the video. I'm going to cover a solo ranked game that I was able to win with 14 eliminations and go over every single moment that was crucial to me staying alive and winning this game. Jumping straight in, I am Unreal, so all of these tips were done in the highest rank possible. If you apply any of these tips, you'll easily fly through the ranks. Let's go ahead and talk about landing spots. As you can see here, I marked 9 locations that I find to all be great, and you can honestly choose based on this description. It's completely up to you. The yellow marks are a little bit more strategic, and then the red marks are going to be most likely hot drops and locations that if you survive out of, you will be looking very overpowered, ready to fight anybody on the map. The reason that I marked these yellow marks are mostly because of the NPCs that spawn there. Snooty Steps has the Bravo Leader NPC, will drop anything that you're holding in your hand, such as shockwaves and bunkers. Fencing Fields is a very high mobility POI because it has an NPC that sells the Thunder Burst and shockwaves. You can also rotate over to this launch pad and buy the sniper rifle from Nura, and we know how hard sniper rifles are to find this season. Restored Reels is a central POI, and I talk about this every single season. Being in the middle of the map at the beginning of the game can be beneficial after you make it out, because you don't have to worry about Storm because you're likely going to pull them for a while. Then we got Reckless Railways that has incredible loot, including some briefcases where you do have a chance of pulling a sniper out of, and this NPC sells the Warforged AR in the purple variety. Here over a grand, the NPC sells the sniper and also lets you rift. And then lastly, for the yellow marks, we have Lavish Lair, just this whole general area, because both these NPCs are scout specialists that if you hire basically mark your location around you, giving you wall hacks. And Mino over here by Rebels Roosts also sells the sniper. Now for the red POIs, and specifically the Grim, this is where all the best players are going to be. So this can be good if you're trying to fight them off spawn, come out with the best loot possible, because that Grim medallion gives you infinite mobility around the map, which we'll dive into more later. Or you can simply avoid this area knowing that all the best players are going to be there and land elsewhere and maybe try to rotate in. I don't have much experience with these two. I generally don't land here. Mount Olympus and Brawler's Battleground have those medallions that are very useful. So now let's go ahead and dive straight into the solo game. So here in this game, I'm landing at the Grim, and I forgot to press record, but about 3 people landed here and I killed one of them when going for the top god chest. I am not by any means encouraging all of you to go to the Grim. However, if you want to get better at off-spawn fighting, the Grim is where it's at. And too many of you are afraid to land at hot POIs. And while you don't have to hit Unreal, I also want to help you get better at the game overall. So the first thing is we have to play off of our loadout. As you can see, my loadout is not ideal. I would like to have a different shotgun and maybe a healing item as well. So I'm playing very slow because I know there's 2 other people left. I am waiting for them to make noise, and here I see my chance. These players briefly shot at each other, so I was able to get an angle on one of them, and as soon as I dealt some damage, I immediately rush in because I have the clear health advantage. But notice what I do here as soon as I finish this fight. I immediately use my shockwaves and disengage because the other player is coming in, and here I end up wasting a dash, and I know I don't have any dashes. So the first thing is to turn around, pop a bunker, and wait for this player to play overly aggressive. In this situation, I see too many individuals going away from the fight, trying to run away. Well, that might put you in a worse spot, but if I wait and see, I might be able to get a free shot here. Now, unfortunately, this player played very passive and decided not to push, and this is when I begin to play mind games. In his mind, I am going to be looking for heals, so I sway away from the POI and try to find some heals, but I kind of failed to find any. But what I'm also doing is keeping a track on the map and listening out to see when he starts to fight against the boss to get that medallion. So I creep up on this roof here with my wings and wait until he's able to get to the 3rd stage of the boss, and then use my wings to drop down and not take any fall damage, and he's likely not going to hear the sound cue because of all the wolves around him. Here I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity, and as soon as I catch this player shooting the AI, I know that if I jump him now, he's likely not going to expect it, and he's not going to have any guns reloaded. That is exactly what I do, and crack his shield, and he ends up running away. The reason I say that that was a mind game is because I 100% had less health than him, but he had no idea. For what he knows, I could be full full health, so I knew that he was going to fully disengage, and I was able to pick up the coin for myself as well as get the mythic shotgun. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am set to dominate this game as I have the ideal aggressive loadout. Let me quickly talk about the best loadouts to have in ranked. For the shotgun, the best undeniably shotgun in the game is the Gatekeeper shotgun, and because I have the mythic shotgun, I am going to absolutely dominate any 50-50 fight, which makes me very dangerous. Then there is a couple options for your secondary weapon. I've been liking the burst SMG a lot, especially with the right hipfire attachments. It is absolutely broken, but if you're not able to find that, the most common and easy thing to fight is going to be the Warforged AR. Then we're going to talk about mobility on cover. The best mobility item is shockwaves. I think a lot of you know this by now. Wings can be useful for rotations, but if you're using them to disengage or rotate into a fight, a half decent player will absolutely fry you out the air because of the increase on the hitbox when using them. So the shockwaves are going to be your best mobility. Then you're going to want to carry bunkers or a sniper. If you are able to find a sniper, I definitely recommend you carry that because you can use a car as a form of cover and rotations as well. If you can have bunkers, that's absolutely wonderful, and the bubbles as well. But what you'll see a lot of pro players go for, instead of carrying either of those items, they will carry an EMP in that slot, as it guarantees easy damage at the beginning of the fight, or also a easy getaway if you're trying to even a fight that you're currently losing. And when paired up with the shockwaves, it is, in my opinion, the most broken combo in the game. And last but not least, the Flowberry Fizz is the only item you need when playing ranked. So my ideal loadout is the Gatekeeper shotgun, the Warforged AR, Flowberry Fizz, shockwaves, and EMPs. But again, for the EMP slot, lots of variations depending on how you play, and you'll see that here in this game. So now I'm gonna cover early game rotations. Again, you want to play off of your loadout. Now I know I have a DMR, but that is simply because I wasn't able to find the ideal thing for that slot, and I'm basically using it kind of like a sniper. So the way I rotate is I immediately get away from the Grim, away from this water, because if I stay here, having the Grim medallion is basically useless because anybody here can fight using the water. So I am at a huge advantage if I get away and fight in areas where no one else has the dashes. That gives me a huge advantage in every single fight that I take. I like to rotate towards fencing to see if I can get some shockwaves from the NPC that we talked about earlier. And here I spot a player in the car, and I try to catch him off by surprise. I crouch up to make sure he doesn't know where I'm at, and I immediately start spraying at him. I now have the advantage simply because I dealt damage first, and this player was not expecting for me to dash. And this is not a bad player because he is using the car for cover, but because I use my dash, I have an easy bailout to surprise him, and I dealt damage first. Now I missed 2 shots, but this player was looking lost. I hit 1 very hard hitting shot and immediately switched to my AR, and I pick up this skill, and I automatically assume that there's going to be a third party, so I immediately get a car and try get into a spot where I can reload my guns, and just like I predicted, somebody is coming into third party. This player is playing over aggressive. He thinks I'm weak. I use the shockwave to create some distance and give myself time to reload my shotgun. As soon as I reload, I play this tree and use my right peek, and this player probably thinks I'm weak, and because he's playing over aggressive, he's leaving himself wide out in the open. So I take out my AR, connect a couple shots, and now one of my dashes has recharged, so I can go for the 50-50 yet again because I have the crazy shotgun and dashes. Easily eliminate this player, but I did take quite a bit of damage. So the first thing I do again is shockwave out because there's another player flying in behind me, and notice as I'm doing that, I'm already applying my heals. But here I run out, and this player is still trying to get to me. So I already have a plan. I know I am weaker than this player, and this would be a risky fight for me to take. So I shockwave back to where I left the car, hop in there, and go over the old loot of the player that I killed to see if I can find some heals. And this player is no longer pushing me. Surely enough, there were some splashes right there on the ground. I picked those up, splashed myself, and now I'm pretty much full health and ready to fight again. I also found a sniper, and because there was no healing items, I just picked up that extra shockwave, so I now have 7 shockwaves. Now I use this car and stay in there as long as I need you until I need to take a fight, because I can either use it as cover, use it to get away, or get out, shockwave, dash. I just have so many options because of how great my loot is. So here I'm wanting to drive to the launch pad to see if I can find some more loot, and as I'm doing that, I spot another player, get out the car and use it as cover, and this player wasn't even looking at my direction, so I was able to hit a free snipe. And notice what I do here and read every move my opponent makes. I know he's going to get into this car, so I don't even bother shooting it because he's driving towards the launch pad, and instead of using my last dash here to try and get on him and use a shotgun, I already cracked him, so I I just need to land some AR shots. I patiently wait for him to get out the car, hold my AR out, predict his movement, and go for some free beams because I know exactly what he's going to do. Trying to read what your player is doing is one of the most important skills when trying to be successful in Zero Build. Now I continue my hunt. If you have dashes and you are the first person to make it to island, absolutely play for the flag. Because if somebody riffs on me, I can simply dash on the high ground before they even land and take free shots, giving me guaranteed success in the fight. And I found a Flowberry Fizz as I popped this capture flag, so I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm about to win this game. Here I'm actually going to underline a mistake that I made. As I launch padded away from island into the zone, I spot a player sitting in the car and I decide to kill him. As I shoot him, this player runs away. I shoot his tires out, shockwave on him, and here I'm trying to do the pickaxe trick, but I'm miserably failing every single time that I shockwave towards him. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it. Here I waste a bunch of my shockwaves, the utility that would be super useful in the end game. Try and catch up to this player, and because I took so long, we now have a bunch of people focused in on this area because of all the shooting that they heard. So I don't play over aggressive, and here I decide to stop using my shockwaves and simply use my dash. As I'm trying to kill this player still, he ends up getting out and shockwaving, and I get sniped to the side, so I immediately disengage and pull off a heal, knowing that I made a mistake on over aggressing this player. So here I reload all my guns, make sure I'm all set, and this is when I hear a player. This guy is driving up and I'm able to explode his car and immediately deal some damage, and I'm giving him no time to heal. I dash on him and clean up the fight easily. As you're seeing this repeatedly, I am ignoring the loot and immediately disengaging because I know somebody else is pulling up in the car behind me. Here I go for a pickaxe trick, but he ends up getting out the car, giving me the driver's seat. So I'm just basically using the car to drive in and maybe catch this player off guard because he's in the car with me. He ends up getting out, hopping into a different car, and I don't over focus him and get back in my car, try to rotate the zone. I notice a player sniping at me. While I'm running away, I keep in mind where he's at. Get out on this high ground here and put myself in a somewhat decent situation, seeing if I can get some free picks because everybody is in the open. This is where you should begin to play a little bit slower. However, if you have the loadout that I have, including the medallion, you can take some risks as long as you're ready to disengage immediately and make sure you're not taking too long on these fights. Here I see this player and I'm trying to take some shots and missing a bunch of snipes. Notice how I get into cover every time I need to reload, making sure I don't get caught off guard. This player shockwaves right in front of my face, so I take some free shots with the shotgun, and I notice that this guy used a shockwave. So the first thing I'm trying to do is play for that loot because I know I can get some extra shockwaves. I go right back for that loot, pick up the extra shockwaves, and here as I get shot at, I decide to just fizz shockwave. Do not be afraid to use your utilities to put yourself in a better position. Here I'm able to pick up a kill from a third-party fight that they were taking. I hit a nasty quick scope, and the other guy ended up disengaging, and I'm holding a pretty decent position. When you don't have cover, you need to look for picks and fights you can finish quick. I'm able to connect this snipe, and here's when the fizz shockwave combination is absolutely dirty. I know this player is weak. He got sniped at by me and this other player, so I immediately fizz shockwave on his head, hold out my shotgun, and delete him off the map. He had no clue what happened to him. Here I make a mistake. I'm reloading my guns in the open and get sniped, and so the first thing I do is heal up as soon as I can get some cover, break some line of sight to where he can't take shots on me. And I got so lucky, I picked up shockwaves, but I accidentally picked up another AR. But nonetheless, I used those extra shockwaves I got to keep rotating into zone. I am in the open and I'm kind of panicking. I need to get myself away from this situation. Here I make the play to take over this bunker, and I know there's a player in there, but he's not going to expect this play. Shockwave over him, and I have the mythic shotgun, and because he was playing inside the bunker, which I knew because he didn't pop out of the bunker whatsoever when he knew that I shockwave towards that little island. Notice here before healing up, I look back, reload my gun, and apply some pressure to make sure nobody is coming my way, and here I'm able to pull off my heal. Now I have shockwaves, and here I'm looking at the zone, coming up with a plan. I can rotate late because I have my mobility. I know there is a player behind me because of the shots I heard earlier. Zone is starting to close in here shortly, so I look back to see if I can pick up an elimination, knowing that this player is going to have to rotate, and I can do this again because I have shockwaves and the dash medallion. Here I connect a nasty headshot snipe. I do not go for the loot because I know I need to prioritize zone. As soon as a little bit of the zone opens, I shockwave into the zone and get to the first piece of cover possible, and I'm actually in a really good spot. While I'm not in the zone, I can use the ridge and rock ahead of me for cover. Based on the shots that I'm hearing, nobody's on this side of the map. I dash ahead, make sure I'm in, and here I'm able to simply have overview over everything as I know where all the players are. This player tries to shockwave in, which is actually a very smart play by him, but here as soon as I crack him with a sniper, I know how amazing this position is. I immediately slide in with my dash and clean up this fight. Notice how I'm not loot shopping. I immediately get out of there knowing there's a player in zone that might want to look, and I get myself on this primal position. I spot footsteps below me and know there's a player here. A lot of players would make the over aggressive mistake to try and fight this player below me. That is exactly what the other player wants me to do. He can just come in and clean up the fight and win the game. I cannot drop down and take any risks, and at this point I'm learning that the player below me is very passive and I don't need to worry about him. I need to worry about the player that's going to be rotating in, and so I do just that. This player is rotating in with a weird rotation. He ends up climbing that tree, and as soon as I spot him, I aim in my sniper, hit a nasty headshot, and now it is a 1v1. I mark zone ahead of me to know where I need to go, fizz myself up in case I get in a fight and want to make sure I have that extra mobility with the Flowberry Fizz. All I need to do is get ahead of him and wait for him to rotate into me. So I decide to shockwave just to be safe. I probably could have dashed, but I didn't want to waste him in case I needed to use it. Just like that, I'm now waiting, gatekeeping him from coming in. He was super weak, and I was able to easily clear up that fight. Now, what I just did there is dove inside my mind. I make these decisions to win these games. The main fighting technique that I would underline the absolute most in this video, and feel free to watch it back, is how often I use right peak advantage and health advantage. If you are just pushing absolutely everything for no reason, that is not how you get better at the game. You have to learn when to push, whether it makes sense to push that fight based on your loadout, health, and positioning. So there's a lot of fighting techniques that you need to be taken away from this, and I promise you will fly through these ranks. Now, if you have any questions or feel like there's something I missed and didn't cover in the video, comment it down below, as I am currently working on a video that dives in depth on specifically how to fight and be a more aggressive and dominant player. If you made it this far into the video, make sure you subscribe to join the most underrated Zero Build community on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.